Shalom Chavrim, I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and of course we are live this evening. This particular tweet came out maybe about an hour and a half ago while we were working getting prepared for the news broadcast this evening. It says, breaking, several dead after crane that was working on Google building falls and crushes cars in Seattle. That's in Seattle, Washington, but by the time we got ready for our broadcast this evening, we were able to see that CNN News as well as NBC News had already posted stories about this so that we could get a little bit more information. Supposedly, what we're seeing now, 4 people were killed, 3 injured in the Seattle Fire Department, according to the Seattle Fire Department, as the crane on top of this building right here in the background there crashed to the ground. Now we can see from the picture there, down below is the crane there, but you see remnants of the crane on top of the building here. According to the tweet there, it was the Google building. I haven't even had a chance to look at the article here though, but it says 4 people were killed Saturday when the crane plummeted into cars on a downtown Seattle street, authorities said. The crane fell into traffic, crushed 5 cars. 3 people also were injured, the Seattle Fire Department tweeted. And let's see, maybe that was where I got the tweet from originally. From Al Bowie, live breaking news is where we got the tweet from. Emergency crews responded to the Mercer Street and Fairview Avenue around 3 p.m., NBC affiliate Kings of Seattle reported. Let's see, the crane fell across the building undergoing construction along Mercer Street, according to the station. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin tweeted that there was a major incident and asked people to avoid the area. My thoughts and prayers are with those killed and injured, she said. And of course, the same for us. It's sad to see any loss of life, and including that. Now, they're not reporting that this is the Google building here, not in this particular NBC broadcast there. That was just posted there on the tweet by Live Breaking News. So I can't say Google building is where the crane was or not. That's just what was put on Live Breaking News. So I can't say yes or no, or is this building any relation to the Google Corporation or not? I have no idea. So we just really don't know the answer to that particular issue. Another very sad situation that happened today is at a synagogue in San Diego. One woman succumbed to gunshot wounds from a individual that opened fire on the synagogue there, and this is being called a hate crime. So 1 person had died and 3 have been injured in a shooting at a synagogue in Poway near San Diego, California. A suspect had been detained. The local mayor said the crime was hate motivated. Police responded to calls about a man with a gun in the Chabad of Poway synagogue at 11:30 a.m. local time on Saturday. 4 victims were taken to the hospital, and Poway Mayor Steve Voss told NBC there was 1 fatality. Let me say something about this as well, because as I looked on Twitter regarding this, let me just see if I can find the right place here that I have it. Yeah, Mike Pompeo. I was actually going to respond to Mike Pompeo where he had responded, but I'm actually blocked from being able to respond to Mike Pompeo's account now. I guess I don't want anybody to know the truth about anything. But anyway, Mike Pompeo was saying anti-Semitism is a cancer. It's an affront to religious liberty, which is at the core of our nation's founding. All Americans stand with the Jewish people in the fight against the world's oldest bigotry on this sad day and always. Also, we had Barry Weiss. Anti-Semitism is a virus. And all these different very strong words used for anti-Semitism. And I am definitely opposed to anti-Semitism as well. But what I am finding a little bit disturbing is the fact that if the deaths were to be at a church, you won't hear anything about anti-Semitism on Christians. Now, some people would say, well, the Christians are not Semitic. Well, not necessarily so. You may have some Christians that are Jewish. would it be considered anti-Semitism then? And not only that, you know, I lost family in the Holocaust, so I understand the sentiment of the Holocaust and the hatred there, but I also know full well that there are many that are in power in Israel today that were responsible for allowing most of the Jews that went to the Holocaust, or a part of the Jews, I should say, that went into the Holocaust in the first place. And yet, when it comes to the 60 million Christians killed by the Bolsheviks in Russia during the revolution in that country there, we never hear anything about remembrance and museums for them and their deaths. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the Armenian genocide. It only seems to be when it comes to my own people. If it's Jewish, it's anti-Semitic. And of course, I think this is one reason why we're seeing such strong words being used by people from different rankings in the political spheres there. And it may be also one of the reasons that they will use to help push for disarming the nation. Where was it, the hate crime then, when they shot the students in the schools? Or is that just a deranged lunatic shooting a gun? You know, to begin with, the guns are not the problem. It's the people that are pretty much gone off the edge that is the problem. But what can I say? Who knows which way this is going to go? But it's not a good situation. And again, our condolences definitely go out to the family that lost this loved one in this shooting, because it is not a good thing to see shootings in any place of worship, whether it be a Jewish place of worship, Christian place of worship, or even a Muslim place of worship. None of these should take place. But I do always watch carefully to see, will this be the one that they use to take your guns away? Because after all, everything is all about finding a way to disarm America. And why do they want to disarm you in the first place? They want to disarm you because some of the laws they're planning on passing in this nation in the not-so-distant future would cause an outcry and an uprising in this country. So if they disarm you before you hear about these laws, they might get one over on you. At any rate, turning our eyes over to Syria, U.S.-backed SDF militias opened fire on protesters in Deir ez-Zor countryside. This is after the third day of them protesting. They're wanting the U.S.-backed Syrian Defense Forces out of Deir ez-Zor. We're talking about the Syrian people do not want these so-called Syrian Democratic Forces backed by the U.S. in their country. In fact, according to the protesters, these Syrian Defense Forces loot their properties, they harass the people, and they're nothing but a nuisance inside the country. Kind of makes you wonder if they're really even Syrians to begin with. Maybe a handful of them might be Syrian, but you never know what kind of jihadists that the U.S. is bringing in to help topple the country and overthrow its people. Also, protests, this is being covered as well by the, actually let me just show you some of the video footage here of the protests that are being carried out. Well, they only give you a little tiny short clip of that one there, but yeah, there were different clips here showing again, trying to push out the Syrian Democratic Forces there that is backed by the U.S., by the Syrian people, showing them that they do not want them in their country. Tripoli also, airstrikes are already beginning to take place in Tripoli earlier tonight. This is about 2 or 3 hours old when we picked this up earlier today as we were getting ready for our broadcast this evening. And which kind of makes me wonder as well. Sometimes I can't help but wonder, what side is the United States really on? Some of the video footage we showed the other day seemed to indicate the U.S. may be on the side of the proclaiming government at this time, and which is kind of interesting because Mike Pompeo had actually stated back, I think, around the 17th of April, that the U.S. supported the existing government in Libya. And not Haftar. But then we see a turnaround where Trump turns and supports the Haftar, says he supports Haftar. Well, Russia supports Haftar, and there's also been a report that the French, right in here in the Middle East Eye, when the French passport crossings from Libya are linked to Haftar, Tunisian source stated there, as a bunch of Frenchmen armed very heavily crossed into the country there, and supposedly they were going to help the diplomats of France in that country there. But it has also been known that the French are very much backing Haftar, the armed general that is trying to overthrow the current government inside of Libya. So everybody wants the oil, of course, and that's what it's all about there in Libya as well. And maybe that's why Trump is playing the Haftar side, because he figures Haftar is going to get in, but yet we've seen these soldiers, and I assume from what I was being told in the description there that they were backing the government, but then again, who knows? You have the deep state, you have the president. We don't know if the president's on the deep state side or if he's on the Russian side. What side's who on? Who knows? It's anybody's guess is as good as the next guy's there. This is here is the article there that actually speaks about that. It said in a late night statement on April the 7th, Secretary of State Pompeo discussed the escalation of fighting in Tripoli. Blow that up for you guys so you can see that a little bit better there. And said, we have made clear we oppose the military offensive by Khalifa Haftar's forces and urge an immediate halt to these military operations against the Libyan capital. Pompeo noted that there was no military solution to Libya's woes and urged Libyan leaders to return to the UN-brokered political negotiations. This statement suggested that the U.S. government had jumped off the fence on which it had been perceived to be perched and landing solidly on the side of talking and not fighting, with Haftar's forces encountering the greater resistance in Tripoli than anticipated. But Trump changed all that and, of course, went to the side of Haftar. You know, I don't get it. Do these guys never communicate there in the White House? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell what's going on there. Also, an article came out on the New York Times. This is a very interesting article. It's something maybe you guys ought to read there. I'll post it in the comment section for you below here. Is this the end of Christianity in the Middle East? ISIS, after the extremist movement across the region, are enslaving, killing, and uprooting Christians with no aid in sight. Wonder why? Wonder why? Does it ever make you wonder why? There was something about Dia that his wife's brother didn't like. Well, I won't go into all the reading of the article there, but the article does make a clear case for the fact that Christians are being totally wiped out in the Middle East. And no one seems to come to their aid. Except maybe Bashar al-Assad, but he's so busy with dealing with his own issues of surviving in his country, with everybody on the outside trying to make sure they get their piece of the pie when the country is finished with its war. What can you say? What a mess. What a mess. By the way, you know, I haven't talked very much about the situation going on in Paris. But we really have got to start condemning this in the strongest of terms. I have never seen more brutality and bludgeoning of France's citizens that are trying to peacefully protest Macron's government. And I realize that they're not always peaceful either. I realize that there's burning of cars and burning of tires and things of that nature there. But the police, with some of the most innocent people that are not even involved in these things, I've seen the videos over and over and over. And just the brutality of the French police on their citizens. It's like there's no conscience whatsoever. No conscience at all. They just beat them profusely with clubs. And they don't care if it's a woman or a man or whatever it may be. They'll just slap them in the head with their clubs. People have been killed in this protest. Makes you wonder, what's really going on in France? Why is this happening? They talk about another French Revolution. They're getting ready for a new world order, friends. And everywhere I turn around, I see all kinds of destabilization. It's going to happen in America too. And when they go to disarm this nation, and when they go to take and enact martial law here, take away your guns, they're going to genocide this nation as well. And the only thing I can say here, Christians, you better beware. They just do not like believers of Yeshua. And they're going to be the ones that are heavily, heavily, heavily targeted. At any rate, listen, hope you guys will tune in tomorrow, sometime later tomorrow afternoon. I'll be uploading a broadcast on the Noon Institute. I do apologize. I have not covered the Passover. And this is something that there's so much happening. Of course, today's the last day of Passover. And I don't know if I'll actually speak on Passover tomorrow or not. I'll just have to wait and see how it goes. I like to feel led about what I speak about. But at any rate, I know the book I wrote, Yom Suf, that is probably one of the best Passover stories that God has ever revealed to my heart. So if you get the chance, check out that book if you haven't already got it there. And I know I've done videos about it before. If you just look up Yom Suf, YAMSUPH, on Israeli News Live on our playlist there, you can see where I talk about this book, talk about the story there, and it's a beautiful Passover message in itself. Anyway, you, my friends, and we will speak to you guys again tomorrow, but going into more of the prophetic side of things that are happening, and I may even get into the book of Revelation, just don't know which way we're going to go as of yet. Erev Tov.